Hello friends, this is Sean in Paso Robles. I wanted to put together a quick how-to video on my dog trap build that I recently put together in frankly a big hurry in an effort to catch Paco, the missing German Shepherd, recently. I want to describe a few of the key elements, sort of some do's and don'ts, and what I would improve if I had to do this again. Hopefully you can hear me over the window okay. For starters, I used 2x3 construction to keep the weight down rather than 2x4, and I don't think 2x2 would be strong enough. So I used 2x3s, and the first thing I did was build 4 2x3 rectangles. So here's, you can see, here's one rectangle and the next one and so forth. So I glued and screwed them together to my chosen criteria. In my case, I needed to fit the crate in the back of my SUV. The German Shepherd was pretty large. I wanted him to feel comfortable going in the crate, or in the trap rather. So if I had a bigger truck, for example, I probably would have built it a little bit bigger and I could still handle it. But in this case, it needed to fit in the back of my SUV. So these rectangles are approximately 35 by 35 inches. And so I glued and screwed each rectangle together. And once that was done, I determined the length. Again, going into my SUV, needed to be meet two conditions. Needed to get in the back of my SUV, so it's 5 foot long. And conveniently, the welded wire I use comes in 5 foot height dimensions. This saves a ton of time not having to screw around cutting up welded wire to fit your trap. So if you're going to build a trap, you might want to make sure that the length is equal to or just a little bit greater than the height of your chosen fence wire to build the trap on. So I put together the frame with the 2x3s, glued and screwed the rectangles together. Then on the interior of the rectangles, on the top and the bottom, I put another 2x3 stick across the length, again glued and screwed in there for strength to hold everything together. And it's extremely sturdy. It's not going to bust open at any point. Then I needed to make the door, the drop door, which again I measured the front for what I needed, but it's just a 3/4 inch piece of plywood. It needs to be 3/4 inch, so it's plenty sturdy, doesn't blow out if the dog tries to get out and so forth. And it needs the weight to be able to drop rapidly. You may only have one chance. And to create the door slide, again using 2x3s, I glued and screwed a couple of 2x3s together with a 1-inch piece of fur strip in the middle, and that creates this slot. The slot needs to be big enough, hence the 1 inch, so the board can go back and forth either direction, either this way or that way, back and forth, so that no matter how cattywampus the board might sit in there, when the bait switch is pulled, the door will drop. It will slide down. You're going to have to test that, of course, over and over again. But once you build and affix these slides to either side of the front, you can then measure for the proper width and height of your piece of plywood, your drop door. Then at that juncture, I needed to arrange and build the bait switch, if you will. And what I used was, again, another, a 2x2 board. And you see it's screwed onto a hinge, which is bolted to one side of the door. I'll go around so you can maybe see it from the other side. So you can see the hinge here, and this 2x3 comes out approximately to the center of the board, and the board sits on that. And then from that point, I have an eye hook that is screwed to the back side of that 2x2. And from that point, I have a cord, 500-pound test cord. It could be any rope, but it needs to be smooth or slippery, not some rough old cotton rope. It goes back to the back of the trap. And here I've attached another 2x3 between these last two panels. And from there, you see I have an eye hook there and another eye hook on each of these 4 panels just to keep the line out of the way. And attached to this end of the cord is a 1/2 inch eye bolt that's it's threaded for 1/2 inch in my case. It's probably about 6 inches long. That's a variable. You can choose what you have. And attached to that is a little board that's maybe 4 by 4 inches. And that's where the bait goes. You put your bait on the top of that board. In my case, I used chicken, a piece of raw chicken. Worked great. And you just, with finger tightness, tighten down a bolt on either side of that board with the chicken on top of that board. And the concept is that the dog doesn't want to have enough chicken hanging off the side of the board to nibble on it. He wants to be able to bite down onto that chicken, and in doing so, he will also get that board. As he pulls and tugs at it, what will happen is, as he pulls on this bait switch, which I'll demonstrate, it'll pull on the cord, which pulls the 2x2 away from underneath the drop door and captures the dog. I cut a little slot up top of the trap here on the back so I can reach in here and put the bait on and so forth. As you can see, I put some clips and hooks in here to make servicing the trap and the bait switch a little bit easier without having to untie cord all the time. And I guess almost lastly, for ease of transport, if you have a second person, which I didn't, I put some handles on the side, so if you had to pick up the trap to load it with or without a dog in it, it would make it much easier. The one issue I ran into when I had the trap set, I was sitting on a hilltop, probably almost 100 yards away, at least 80 yards away. And as it is, like right now, it's windy, and with this board up, it acts like a sail, and it would rock back and forth. And eventually, after about 20 minutes, it would come off the lip of my 2x2 and drop down when it's not supposed to. So in my case, I spent 5 or 6 times running back and forth this hill, quite a workout to reset the trap. What I ended up doing, which isn't shown here, is I ended up having to jerry rig from the top of this door. From the top of this door, I put a little cord on the corner and a little tether that went down to the trap. So stated another way, if I were to do it again, I'd put a little hole in the top of the board here with another little piece of cord that would just give it a little gentle strain back towards the trap. Just all you need is very little, even in the strongest wind, so it doesn't go back and forth. And in that way, you don't have to worry about the trap falsely causing the door to fall. And of course, with that cord there, it will still allow the trap door to fall. Again, it would go from the back of the door here, with a little cord with a little tension to the trap down here, and then when it falls, it would just fall straight. That's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment, and I'll respond as soon as I can.